I didn't have much of a childhood, but I collected dolls, and my dolls' heads were on the floor, and I thought it's time to get out of this marriage. And my very earliest relationship, which was a disaster, was with Maurice Gibb.
Why was that a disaster?
Well, because he married Lulu.
Hello and welcome to Suddenly Single, the new and hilarious dating podcast.
Where we're going to get our celeb mates to tell us about their dating disasters.
We're also going to have a few experts in the studio to tell us where you and I are going wrong.
Come on, and I don't think you've got enough makeup on.
On Suddenly Single, this episode, we have Susie Mathis, who had many hits in the 70s as a singer, squeezed in 3 marriages, but is better known now
for being on Boom Radio, where you can find Best every Wednesday and Susie every Saturday morning.
Yeah, just wanna get out of here.
Susie Mathis, you are our special guest today. Is it fair to call you the doyenne of broadcasters?
Well, it would be a great privilege to be called that.
You've had several chapters to your career, though, haven't you? You've been a big selling hit singer. You've done performance and now radio for the last few years. So we met you at the Boom Radio party.
And most Best readers will have seen the advert for Boom Radio, but tell them about your show.
Well, my show is really taking people into the weekend. It's a very early start. It's 6 o'clock until 8 on a Saturday morning. And it's a way to be part of Boom, which I'm hoping is going to take me a bit further in the future. But I'm actually really enjoying having people saying they love waking up with me.
And Boom is aimed
how
at
nice is that? It's a long
boomers,
time
isn't
since
it?
someone's woken up with me.
Well, yeah, me too. I mean...
So we haven't touched on your relationships. Or are you in a relationship? Are you single now? Where are you at this point?
I am not in a relationship. And I haven't been in a relationship for a long time. My last marriage ended nearly 30 years ago.
Wow.
I have had a few affairs since then, a few relationships, but not for a long, long time.
So 30 years ago, did you have 3 marriages very quickly then?
Well, the first marriage I normally don't tell anybody, but because it's best, I thought
Thank
best
you.
to
Thank
do
you.
and tell
Best
the
to tell the
truth, you know.
truth. Best, yes.
That was a very big mistake. It was only a few months, and
okay.
I came back home one day and I didn't have much of a childhood, but I collected dolls, and my dolls' heads were on the floor, and I thought it's time to get out of this marriage.
Well, he
so I
took the
left.
dolls' heads off.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
Wow.
like Hannibal Lecter.
So I left.
Yeah. I think that would have disturbed me
Yeah.
too.
And I never went back. I just left him with the house.
And
gone.
the dolls.
And the dolls without the heads.
But that literally was like a Thelma and Louise moment. You just closed the door and just didn't look back.
That was it.
You just
Wow.
said, give me an annulment. I don't want anything.
Nothing.
Goodbye.
But you see, these days you've got the mobile phone, haven't you? People would be ringing you. People would be saying things. You'd be there. But in those days, you just went away. I think I went up to Manchester to a club, to work, and no one knew where I was. He couldn't find me, and I didn't take any calls, and I didn't want to.
Yeah, of course.
And I did just close
Did you
the
not
book.
know him for very long when you married him?
I knew him for about... Yes, I did know him for actually, but the thing is, I'd gone through this situation from being young to having relationships with people that were quite famous,
Yeah.
and yet they always left and went off with somebody else.
Uh-huh.
And so when I met this person, I thought, well, he looks like the sort of guy that stays and talks to the other members in the band. He's always at the bar. He's not out there chatting women up. So I thought that was the sort of person I should be with. All the wrong reasons, of course. And then I realised why he was at the bar and why he wanted to be with the guys. You know, obviously didn't have enough time really to put into me.
Okay.
So that finished, and then you got married again.
Yes, that was a lovely
It didn't
marriage.
put you off?
Well, not at the
head
time, no.
chopping
It
of
didn't
dolls?
put me off because I was very young. I mean, that was young. I'd had a really incredible relationship.
How old were you?
Well, I was 21.
Oh, very young. Very
21.
young.
And also my life hadn't been like other children because I didn't ever go to the back seat in the pictures. I didn't go on normal dates because I was in the world of show business from the age of 13, in shows, staying in digs, all around the country, and that was my life. So I didn't meet normal guys. It was, for me, it was all the guys that were starring in the shows, you know.
Yeah.
Lecturing and lecturing after me and stuff like that. But apart from having that, I didn't really know any young boys. I didn't.
It sounds like you had to bring yourself up a bit. You had to parent yourself.
Well, I did have to parent myself, yeah. Well, I certainly did, and I have done throughout my whole life. I haven't had any help whatsoever from parents because my parents split when I was very young. I was really fortunate, though, because a lady called Betty Pitt-Draffen, who owned a stage school, saw me having a bit of a wheezing fit one day and said, "What's wrong with that girl?" And my grandmother told her the story about my parents splitting and a very tragic situation happening. And so she said she can come to my school.
Oh, wow.
And she paid for my schooling.
Oh, my goodness. What a
And she saved my life.
What an
and,
angel.
what an angel. And when I left, she said, and she's the one that got the paper dolls together. We were.
So this is your very famous band that had many hits.
Absolutely,
and you toured for
yeah.
5-6 years.
Yeah, no, 10 years.
10 years.
And Betty put us together because we were all girls that went to the same school. We weren't a manufactured set of bands that answered an ad in a paper. And
So
and
we were the Spice Girls of the time.
well, we were really the Old Spice.
Old Spice.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great days. But Betty sort of got us the first job, which was at the City of Writers in Leeds, which we all thought was like the music hall. Do you remember the music hall with the old timers there and the old fashioned show? But when we got there, it was a strip joint.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Well, my
Raymond's
stage school was very
Revue
posh. We daren't even tell Betty where we'd ended up. So the strippers would top the bill, and we were at that time called the dolly set, and we'd be like bottom of the bill. So if they were Titi Villari, we were the Titi Villariettes. So whoever the stripper was called, we were the ettes on the end. And after 18 months, we got to the top of the bill.
People would, I would assume, say to you, well, how can you be single? You must meet lots of interesting people all the time. That's not necessarily the case, is it? If you turn up and do your radio show, it's the same people for 2 hours, you go away, and then you're not seeing anybody for 48 hours unless you make an effort.
I don't know, through the years I've interviewed everybody that's anybody. And I did go out with Michael Crawford for a while after I'd interviewed him, and there were several people through the years that I sort of had a relationship with. And my very earliest relationship, which was a disaster, was with Maurice Gibb.
Oh, wow,
And,
so the Bee Gees, my goodness.
Yeah, that Bee Gees, yeah.
Why was that a disaster?
Well, because he married Lulu.
Oh, well, yes. I guess that would make
That's
it
why
a
it was a
disaster.
disaster.
But did you sing together?
Who, me and Maurice?
Maurice, ever?
No, we slept together.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't sing together, no.
I'm sure that worked too.
That's where you went wrong.
No, absolutely.
So you've dated very famous, very powerful men.
Yes,
in
I
the
did.
past.
Yeah,
Is that
I
what
did.
you've been attracted to then?
Well, I don't know, because it was the only people I met at the time, because we
Well,
were...
but you'd also meet other people as well. You know, the cameraman, the sound guy, the lighting guy, as well as the star.
I think I always move towards the person that moves towards me.
Right. Okay.
I think that's something... I think I'm attracted by someone that wants me. I haven't got the confidence to go... Do you fancy going
Yeah,
on?
okay.
I'd rather someone say to me, and if I think someone likes me, I respond to that.
Yeah. I think
It's
that's
that
a
way
really...
round. It's that way
Yeah.
round.
I think that's true. I think actually, particularly years ago, less so now because I think I've got less time to waste, but when I was younger, I would date people for years because they asked.
Well, it's
I mean,
true though,
how-
Siobhan,
I mean,
it's
there
true.
wasn't anything wrong, but I just knew more or less from date 3 that this was never really going anywhere, and it would last 2 years or whatever.
But I think that
because
what went
they
wrong is that
asked.
situation with Morris, and then I went
Yeah.
out with Yul Bennett. Those were sort of high-profile sort of people.
Very high profile.
Yeah, and I mean, wonderful. Wonderful. We went to sort of marvellous places and great times, and I lived with Morris for a while.
So since Michael and I have to say, I know your age because you said it when you're having your makeup, and you don't look anywhere near your age or act it in a
Tim,
good
you
way.
always say that to everybody.
But no, I don't actually. Some people
You
think,
do.
bloody hell.
Not me, he doesn't. He says I should go and see Harley Street Skin Clinic.
Have you had further relationships, and are they the same type of person or personality that you still go out with, or have you opened up to approaching somebody else or not waiting for them to come up to
I don't
you?
approach anybody.
Really?
No, I just don't. I don't have the confidence to have the rejection.
It's interesting, isn't it? That's a dichotomy of if you don't have the confidence to approach somebody, but you do have the confidence to hold your own against incredibly famous people and be their partner and walk out with them.
But I think that I have been having people fall in love with me, which is the most beautiful feeling in the world. But I don't seem to have been able to hold on to them.
Have you changed your approach to the men that you allow into your life? Because
I only allow men into my life as friends. I mean, I did start to sort of feel I could trust one about 10 years ago, but that turned round and slapped me in the face as well.
Really?
Yeah. and it hurt. It really hurt. And to be rejected, to be not loved anymore by the person that you care for so deeply is just so wounding. I sort of couldn't put myself through it again.
It's
Do you
been
think
vulnerable,
you
isn't it?
put up a barrier now?
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah, 100%. And I think I look back at my life and I think, well, I've hidden everything for so many years. A lot of heartache in my early life and not really having the proper foundation, really, for knowing what was right in a relationship. And then I got breast cancer. And when I got the cancer and started to have the treatments, it all came flooding out, all these skeletons. This has happened to you, that's happened to you, you had an abortion, you did this, what happened to that? Everything was just thrown at me. And I had a complete and utter breakdown. Wow. And had 2 years in therapy at the Christie in Manchester.
Really?
It
So
was
when
bad.
was that, Susie?
About 11 years ago.
About 11 years ago. So quite recently.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
did
a
that
good
help?
thing?
Oh, 100%.
Sorry.
I think what happened with me with therapy is I now can get into a situation where I think, oh, what's this feeling you've got? And understanding myself. I recognise why I'm doing it, but I can't really stop myself in time. So I won't allow myself to give myself to anybody.
Yeah, but I don't think you're on your own in that approach. At least you have you can notice it. We have lots of people in, don't we, that don't want to do the next stage because they don't want to get hurt. They put all their
I actually wonder
love.
if it's true about us. If
Probably.
Yeah,
Really,
why
in
haven't
different
you
ways.
two? Look at you two. You're so much younger than me.
Yeah.
What you should be out there springing into action.
Siobhan has
Siobhan.
very bad breath.
Oh,
That's all I'm
don't
going to say.
say that.
I wish I was sitting over there, and it's been a
Charming,
big hill for you to climb, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, you'll go off someone because they've got the wrong colour socks on. I mean, it's not like you're an easy ask, is
well,
it?
and also I
Gets the
yes,
ick at socks.
Well,
Anything.
but I think
They've
it's
got a cat.
I think
their
it's a bit
socks
harder
are
when you're
wrong.
older because you want somebody of a certain type of age, and I've got young kids, so that's got to fit into the equation. I'm not around a lot because I have my children on my own, so you've got to balance all those
You've got
things.
so much more to give at your age. When you get to my age and the things like dating sites, all the old guys want a young bird.
Yeah, but do they all? All the old
they
guys that you're
do,
seeing
they
on
do.
those
They
dating
do. Well, I'm not on a dating site, but my friends certainly have been, and I've looked at them, the guys that they're looking at, and they don't look like Kevin Costner or Tom Conti. They look like my granddad. So there's no...
Actually, I have heard that many times.
So really the pool is if a friend were to introduce you
Yeah.
or work. Or it's not actually for you, is it? Because work is done from your studio at home.
Work is done from home,
Yeah.
so I don't really go out and meet
No.
anybody that I could possibly have a relationship with.
So it's the boom party or nothing.
Well, it's the boom once a year. Get your booking in now.
Do you have a circle of friends? Because we had Jan Leeming on, who was fantastic.
She was, yeah.
And she said that she's now out on the coast somewhere or near the coast because of a last marriage that failed. And she said, I can't afford to be back in London where I'd like to be, although she very much enjoys where she is now. But she said her collection of friends are gay guys. And she said that's great fun because very entertaining, very loyal, always a fun dinner party. But I'm not meeting anybody that would tick the boxes for me to meet in a romantic relationship. And she said, I'm kind of in a cul-de-sac. Do you find...
Well, I agree with her. It's so difficult. I mean, I have wonderful friends. Thank goodness I have wonderful friends because they are my family.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. I love them very, very much.
Yeah.
And they're as important as any family member. But if I go to I've organised loads of events, millions of charity events, huge balls of 500,000 people. I never even open my eyes to see anybody. I don't even think about it. I'm focused on my work, what I'm doing. And if anybody came by, they'd have to make a hell of a entrance for me to take notice of it.
What about walking the dog? Do you
I
not
walk
meet
the
anybody
dog.
when you're out and about?
I meet loads of people out and about, and I walk along the canal 3 times a day with my little Gertie.
Yeah.
And I meet some nice people with their dogs. So there's nobody that I possibly could fancy.
I think it's just harder as you're older. and I don't mean old, but older. When you're 20, 21, everybody's chatting to everybody, and there's a party and there's a house party, and do you want to come to here? My friend likes you, and that's. But as you get older, that's those type of really
Funerals.
Well, it's a lot of
I've been
funerals.
to few. Yeah, it's not funny.
It's not funny.
No.
I think we should get our expert in
to see if he can give you some advice.
Yeah, not that you need it by the sounds of it, but it'd be good to get a different perspective on us as well as you.
Yeah. Just wanna get out of here.
So we have with us today Toby Ingham, a psychotherapist.
Well.
So what you've been listening to our conversation. I'm a bit scared to ask you now. I know you're a psychotherapist.
What are you scared about?
Well, what do you think Susie could do if she would like to meet somebody?
Well, I mean, first of all, we've had some conversation earlier, and I think Susie, is impressive and intuitive and very open. And I suppose listening to what we've been discussing, I was thinking about how to, use that kind of insight that I think you have without maybe being too open, maybe in some ways. I was thinking about the big events you do.
Yeah.
And they sound to me like you maybe go into those very professionally, which, we'd expect, of course. But I think when we do that, maybe it makes it hard to also see who else is in the room and what might be possible with relationships, when you go in on that professional start.
Not seeing the wider issue rather than just concentrating on the work.
Well, maybe. I mean, you've had to be very independent from an early age, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess...
The buck stops here.
Yes. But I think I have the sense that you're looking after yourself now, and is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think I'm quite happy at the moment.
I think that's how you come
I'm
across.
happier now than I was a few years ago.
What
I
would you
feel
put that
quite
down
settled.
to?
I think it's where I live, being grateful and seeing birds and ducks and swans and gorgeous wildlife, and they need me to feed them, and I feel really, really comforted by it. I can't tell you how excited I am when a swan comes right the way up to my gate and looks
that's
me.
nice.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it's in touch with nature.
It's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
I've never had that before, and I think that's made a big difference to me.
I think that comes across, that you're feeling in a good place.
I am.
Yeah, I think
am.
that came across to me.
So if Susie, wherever she happens to be, work or social, to meet somebody, how can she change, if she wants to, her mindset about opening up to somebody, but not too much? Because that makes sense, but what's the day-to-day tips on how that works?
Well,
how do you open a bit?
Well, I think first of all, I'd keep on, enjoying how you're feeling, and follow that thread.
Fall in love with a duck.
or a swan.
Or something that rhymes with it, yeah.
But I think I'd keep, following that good sense about how you're enjoying living and life at the moment. And I think I'd encourage you to see the people that come to you that are similarly enjoying life and are strong, rather than maybe people who are more, I don't know, covert or covering things up. Because I think you come across to me as I think that's a strength of yours, how you're feeling about things at the moment.
Yeah, well, I am happy. I am really at a sort of nice part of my life. I don't know why it is, but I'm sort of wake up in the morning and I'm grateful to be alive and really happy to take my dog out, and life is okay.
So better, I think, to have more of that than to get tangled up with someone who would wreck all the happiness.
I don't think I could ever live with someone now. I'm just so set in my ways. I like to watch what I want to watch when I want to watch it. The only time that I really feel a loss of having a relationship at the moment is, say, for instance, going back today on the train.
Yeah.
And there's no one there.
When you get home.
Yeah.
To tell.
And there's no one that's ringing me to say, how did your day go?
Yes.
Do you know, my girlfriends will probably get in touch and say, are you all right, you're home or whatever. But there's always that situation when I wake up in the morning, I think, if anything happened to me in the night, that's me and my dog, that's it.
Yes. I mean, at least on the other hand, you're not going back to any kind of nasty surprises, are you?
Oh, no.
You've
no
cut
dogs
that.
with
You've
their heads
cut
off.
exactly, or people, emptying the luggage out, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think you looking after yourself and enjoying what works, I think is a really good place to start from.
Yeah, and I think at my age, that's quite a good place to
I
be.
think so.
I mean, if I was 20 years younger, it'd probably be very, very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
But it's an interesting take that you're saying appreciate what you've got because you are, and you don't need something else that could complicate it and take it away.
Yeah, I think
so. You don't necessarily have to have a partner to complete it or make it a Disney-fied version of happiness.
No, and if you're going to meet someone, I think meeting them on the basis of your value, that you trust yourself, you back yourself, and so you're not looking for, I don't know, some kind of to get caught up in someone who, yes, you've got a partner, but they're bringing all kinds of problems.
I couldn't cope with it.
No, I don't think anybody would want to. And when you're older, you have less patience for that as well, don't you?
Well, definitely. Tim, it's a fact. Yeah. And also, I think I have spent a great majority of my life trying to prove that I'm worth loving, prove that I'm worth being with. When things have gone wrong in the marriage and I know that they're having an affair or they've done this or they've done that, I think, oh my God, it's my fault, because I'm needy, because I want this. But of course, you can't lure somebody away unless they're lureable. So when they want to go, you have to let them go. There's nothing you can do about it.
Is it possible to give an overview of the malaise of people dealing with dating and relationships? Have things shifted over the last 20, 30, 40 years, or is it the same principles that cause problems?
Well, one of the things I see a lot of is something that through Google has become known as retroactive jealousy, where people become very anxious about their former partners. Okay,
that's interesting.
Well, it's quite common now, and because of social media, so people can investigate who their former partners were with. People can become quite obsessed about it. In my experience, I think this often relates more to our own early histories and things that have left us feeling anxious, which we then project into the current relationship, rather than it being anything of a problem in the relationship necessarily.
Wow.
But I spend quite a lot of time having conversations like that.
We have mentioned on occasions and quoted the Philip Larkin poem, your
Yes.
parents, they
F you up.
Do you think there's any kind of strands of relationships and why those problems keep coming up?
Well, I think certainly our earlier histories play a part in shaping the kinds of people that we become and the kinds of people we're drawn to. I mean, I know with your story earlier, Susie, you were talking about that kind of independence and of having to look after yourself from an early age.
Yeah, well, we are what we were, aren't we? We are what we were. And of course, you'd have thought the way that my parents acted, and obviously the tragedy that went on through that and a family completely exploding and ending.
What was the tragedy?
All I wanted to do, well, my dad didn't want myself and my mum to be alive, basically.
Really?
No, it was terrible because my mother was having an affair.
Oh, God. So you were witness to that as a child?
Oh, yeah. It was terrible. And it split. The family ended overnight.
Oh, my God.
Gone. And it was, I never saw my father for 16 years. My mother went to Australia. No, the family was gone.
But that's an awful lot for you to have gone through, isn't it?
But I wanted so much to have a family.
Yeah.
See, I wanted what I didn't have.
Sure.
And
then it was probably more unusual. But it's become more and more common for single-parent families. It probably wasn't that common back then.
Well, it wasn't. You're absolutely right. It wasn't common.
I think with when your observation is that your upbringing affects a lot of your outlook on life, and relationships are a big part of life. Is there a cut-off point when you say, actually, by the time you're in your 20s, emotionally, whatever's happened there is set in stone and you can't really do much to change it, or can you do a lot to change it?
Well, I think that we can always do more to understand where we've come from. But at the same time, I think we need to work on looking after our emotional stability in the present. Okay? So, yes, know what's happened, the kinds of things you're talking about there. But equally, I think, like I was saying, looking after the bit of you that's happy, that's enjoying life, that knows what it wants, that might have a smaller social circle, but has a better quality social circle.
Yes.
So I think, I'm always interested in being able to understand the background and the history of myself or whoever. But I think the ongoing project of looking after us on a day-to-day basis is crucial. And if that means that maybe we're not dating, but we're not throwing ourselves into relationships that might be bad or might involve gaslighting or, any of those things that have a terrible effect on your health.
Best to be on your own than in a bad relationship any day.
Yeah. I would say
And
so.
the retroactive
Jealousy.
Yeah,
is
that's
people that are going
extraordinary.
through Instagram and finding a previous partner, and then being worried that that partner they don't stand up to or compare to that person, or
it might-
they're still in touch.
Yeah, I mean, it might be all kinds of things, but people can get, so the new partner can get a bit obsessed that the girlfriend's old partners were better in some way, and they then want to sort of interrogate those relationships and find out, well, what did you do and where did you go and what got said, and when the stories are different, it creates problems.
But you say, wow, we've had that discussion about had dates with people and you find out who their ex was and they're a good-looking younger woman
yeah,
or
I did
man,
say
and you
that,
go,
I did.
actually,
You did say that.
that already I don't want to go out with that person because
Right.
they're going to be compared to the previous one who's younger, taller, fitter, whatever that
It can go on
happens to be.
forever, though, can't it?
Famous, whatever it happens to
Fame
be.
thing's a problem.
Well, that's essential. We need to be able to protect ourselves, but maybe not to the extent that nothing good can come in. But we do need to look after ourselves.
Do you think men and women deal with breakups and betrayal differently?
I think these things are different for all of us, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
But I think one of the things that we face now is the social media effect.
Yeah.
You know, everything's permanent, everything has a trace, and I think that's a complication, particularly for younger people as well. That I think it's hard to know quite how that escalates.
Yeah.
I'm quite glad it wasn't around
Yeah.
in the early days. I really am.
Absolutely.
Just wanna get out of here.
We have the fishbowl of truth
All
here,
right,
some
okay.
questions that we're all going to take.
Toby doesn't know what your game is.
Okay, well, it's not a game. It's just another way to ask an
my glasses
insightful,
on.
invigorating, intelligent,
terrible
erudite
writing.
question, badly written, so we can read it out for you.
Oh,
Go on.
how much say do your kids get over a date?
Oh,
My daughter is 28 and extremely judgmental. But she doesn't really get a say because I'll go anyway. And what she always says, and she's always right, is, don't worry, Mum will come to this in her own time.
and she does.
And she does. Usually she's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a go-to friend that you listen to romantically about your partners?
No. I have a go-to friend that I talk to about anything in life, but I don't really spend a lot of time talking about my partners anymore. This is the most I've talked about them for years.
It's
For
been
years and
fascinating,
years.
though.
Have you had anybody that's tried to introduce you to somebody in recent years and you go, give me a break, I'm not going out with that
No.
person? No.
No, I
No.
think my
You're
friends
more-
have given up.
You're careful though.
I'm extremely,
Yeah.
extremely. Mine says, what gives you the ick? And what gives me the ick is table manners.
Oh, bad table manners.
I can't stand it if people eat like Desperate Dan.
Right.
Leave the fork in the air, and I that really,
Elbows.
really don't like
I'm glad
that.
we're not having a meal then.
Yes, exactly. Now, how about you, Toby? What's
I
yours?
got what is your go-to romantic music? So I think I'd go for something a little bit upbeat and maybe some Prince or something with a bit of
That's
disco.
romantic.
Yes, to keep people moving around.
Oh, okay.
What about
Like
you?
to
Do you
dance
have
when you're
any-
being-
All
Yeah,
by
a bit of
myself.
bit of
very
dancing.
calm.
On repeat,
On repeat.
the bottle of wine.
The bottle of prosecco. Yeah.
Well, when I have dates or I go out, or if I think about romantic fun nights when music has been involved, YouTube is such a revelation because
Yeah.
the two of you can say, oh, have you seen this performance of the Rolling Stones? And you play that and it's like,
Is that
good surround.
literally what you're doing when you're having a romantic moment?
Well,
You're watching a screen.
Well, no,
That's where you're going wrong.
But when it's a bit of music involved to the question, then that music comes. It's not just playing a song in the background. We'll go, have you seen? Oh, Sade did this, or Tracy Chapman performed there.
Oh,
and
no,
that was
that's
a-
too much
Okay.
talking. You've got to stop with the talking.
Tim,
Just get
have
the
you
music
seen
on.
Too many screens.
Jacob Collier?
No, what's that? I don't know.
Please, YouTube.
Jacob
Collier.
Jacob Collier.
All of you.
And what
Jacob
is it? Is it a
What is
live
this?
He's a
performance?
genius.
Genius at
Genius.
what? Singing?
Well, he's a pianist. He's a songwriter. He's
Oh,
a
okay.
choir owner. He's a everything conductor.
Oh,
He is a
really?
genius.
Oh, wow.
Please watch.
You've got a weakness around
See if
these
that
kinds of
helps.
people, though, haven't you?
Yes, I have. You're right. I love talented people.
And on that bombshell, Toby, Susie, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank you
great
for having me.
silly single, actually.
was, it was.
And I hope you come back on again because it was quite insightful.
On the next Suddenly Single, the one and only Christopher Biggins, sharing lots of showbiz anecdotes, indiscreet-ish stories, and how he's been happily in love for decades.